Picture this. It's 3 a.m. and your phone erupts with that bone-chilling emergency alert sound. Ballistic missile threat inbound. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. Your heart pounds as you grab your family and think back to that old documentary you saw. Wasn't there a fallout shelter somewhere downtown? One of those Cold War bunkers with the black and yellow signs? But here's the terrifying question nobody wants to ask. Would that shelter actually be there when you need it? Would the door be unlocked? Or would you find yourself standing in front of a rusted sign on a building that's been converted into luxury condos? Tonight, we're going beyond the myths, the viral maps, and the Hollywood fantasies to uncover the shocking reality of public nuclear shelters in America. Because what I'm about to show you will completely change how you think about your family's safety, and it might save your life. I'm going to walk you through the official data, the government documents most people never see, and the truth about whether America's famous fallout shelter system actually exists anymore. Plus, I'll reveal the one resource that could actually help you find real protection in your area, and why 90% of the shelter maps you see online are dangerously outdated. But first, let me ask you this. Do you remember seeing those black and yellow fallout shelter signs? Maybe on your school, your post office, or that old government building downtown. If you grew up in America, chances are you've seen them. Those triangular symbols that promised safety underground, protection from the unthinkable. Here's what most people don't realize. Those signs were part of the largest civilian protection program in American history. And it's a program that quietly disappeared while nobody was paying attention. Let's go back to where it all started. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy stood before Congress and declared that America needed a massive civil defense program. The Cold War was heating up, the Berlin crisis was escalating, and the Soviet Union had just detonated the most powerful nuclear weapon in history, the Tsar Bomba. Americans were terrified, and they had every right to be. What happened next was extraordinary. The federal government, led by what would later become FEMA, launched the National Fallout Shelter Survey. Teams of engineers and surveyors fanned out across every state, every city, every town in America. They weren't building new bunkers, that would have cost billions. Instead, they were identifying existing buildings that could protect people from radioactive fallout. By 1965, the numbers were staggering. According to official records from the National Archives, over 100,000 buildings across America had been designated as public fallout shelters. That's right, 100,000. Schools, office buildings, subway stations, church basements, even the lower floors of department stores. If it had thick walls and was below ground level, it got the yellow and black sign. But here's where the story gets really interesting. The government didn't just slap signs on buildings and walk away. They actually stocked these shelters. I'm talking about massive quantities of survival supplies, steel drums filled with water, boxes of high-calorie survival crackers, first aid kits, and portable toilets. The plan was simple. These shelters would keep Americans alive for 2 weeks, long enough for radiation levels outside to drop to survivable levels. According to a 1967 Department of Defense report, the government spent over $200 million, that's nearly $2 billion in today's money, just on stockpiling these supplies. Walk through the archives, and you'll find black and white photos of endless warehouse rows filled with survival rations, each box marked with that distinctive fallout shelter logo. The system was so comprehensive that by the late 1960s, civil defense officials claimed they could shelter nearly 50 million Americans. School children practiced duck and cover drills. Families received official pamphlets showing them how to find their nearest designated shelter. For a brief moment in history, America actually had a functioning public fallout shelter system. But then something happened that changed everything. Something that most Americans never noticed, but that quietly dismantled the entire network of protection their government had promised them. And here's the shocking part. What happened to those 100,000 shelters reveals a truth about government preparedness that every American needs to understand.
Because the assumption that there's a public shelter waiting for you in an emergency, that assumption could get you killed.